The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full, the moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand, glimmering and vast out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet is the night air, only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land. Listen, you hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back and fling at their return up the high strand, begin and cease and again begin, with tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain, and we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. In the first stanza, the speaker characterizes the ocean as something that disappoints him and is generally dissatisfying. He uses mellow language and descriptions of solitude to further this point. In the second stanza, the speaker alludes to Sophocles, the great Greek writer, and to the Aegean Sea, which is north of Greece. He compares the movement of the ocean to the movement of human emotion, back and forth. In the third stanza, the speaker establishes that the sea used to be full of promise, but it now reminds him of melancholy subjects. In the fourth and final stanza, the speaker addresses love as a physical entity and begs love to allow him to appreciate the beauty of life. He also says that the sea has no joy or love or light or any positive impact. The stanza ends with a shift in tone from mellow sadness to violent anger, with the allusion to battle in the last two lines. What does the poem say? The unnamed melancholy narrator details what he or she observes about the sea. In the first stanza, the narrator comments on the sea, focusing on the repetition of the sea's actions. The narrator speaks about the vastness of the sea, referring to the French coasts and cliffs of England, speaking upon how the sea touches multiple areas around the world simultaneously. In the second and third stanzas, the narrator makes ancient connections with the cycle of the sea, commenting on the pensive nature of the ghosts left behind from these tales. Here, the general spirit of loneliness that encompasses the poem begins to rear its head. In the last stanza, the narrator, who is speaking to another person, expresses his rather pessimistic view of the sea, that it hath really neither joy nor love not light. The list is comprised of increasingly basic ideas of contentment in society. It is clear the narrator views the sea and his life as deceptively blithe. It may seem as though there is joy to be found in the beauty of it all, but all leads to disappointment and sadness. How does the poem say it? This poem relies heavily on sound imagery, such as, quote, grating roar, and, quote, tremulous cadence slow, that helped contribute to the melancholy tone of the poem. Even the exclamations are left to be ironized with the somber tone. Generally speaking, the poem is in third person. However, the infrequent and sudden shifts to second person mean that the narrator is speaking to someone who they care about. This poem makes intensive use of enjambment. In the first stanza, enjambment is used to emphasize the continuous, repetitive nature of the waves. The poem does rhyme in an ABAC pattern that is consistent throughout. The narrator's fascination with ancient tales, along with their general attitude toward life, could explain that the narrator is reaching for the end of their life and is unhappy with what has become of it. What does the poem say to me? Quote, this poem for me is the opposite of my outlook on life. When I see the sea, I view it as opportunity instead of wasted potential. I do not agree with the narrator's sentiment of, quote, the land of dreams hath really neither joy nor love nor light. Then again, my perspective is that my whole life is ahead of me instead of behind me, as an assumption case of the narrator. Kevin Gaucher.